Have you ever been to someone's home and in the course of the evening they started laughing and joking together, started reminiscing about the things that they did when they were younger? Well, one of the reasons that they're having such a great time together is because they're remembering when they were very connected to each other through an intentional time of dating. Well, in today's video, I want to show you how you can recapture those things and have meaningful times together. As a matter of fact, what we're going to do is we're going to call it Hacking Your Marriage Date Nights. Dating your spouse increases their sense of value and it increases the foundation of your marriage relationship. I'm going to say that again. Dating your spouse increases their sense of value and it strengthens the foundation of your marriage relationship. And really what you could say is that this is the activity of companionship. We are companions with each other, and as such, we are going to move towards each other. Now, if we understand this, if we get this, what we're going to find is that we're going to be more connected to each other emotionally and physically and spiritually, all those kinds of things. We're going to have more fun in the relationship, and the level of physical intimacy will also increase in the relationship as well. In moving in that direction, though, I think it's important that we understand that there are some principles that you can find within Scripture that talk about companionship. One of my favorite passages to talk about companionship is actually one that was at our wedding. It's Ecclesiastes 4, 9 through 12. Here's what it says. Two are better than one because they have good return for their labor. If one of them falls down, the other can help them up, but pity the one who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Now, Solomon is the guy who wrote this. He's a king. He's got a lot of wives. He's got a lot of concubines. He's considered one of the wisest guys that's ever lived. And as a matter of fact, he also wrote the book of Proverbs for those of you who are interested in learning more about some wisdom of life pieces. And so he provides some practical advice on relationship. And specifically, we're going to apply that to our marriage relationship. I believe that God wants us to have good marriages. As husbands and wives working together, protecting each other, helping each other, and even nurturing each other. And in this particular passage, we find 3 examples of people interacting and experiencing what it's like to have a oneness and a connection and companionship. And these examples are taken from the risks of traveling by foot in the ancient Middle Eastern world, specifically the desert world, in the time of Solomon. And as you are traveling, I think it's important to note that it's a really good metaphor for the marriage relationship, as I really believe that marriage is a journey. You're lifelong companions with each other. You are each other's best friend and companion. You wind your way through life and you have comfort and strength from the other person as you build into each other as lifelong companions. And in this particular passage, what we find is help when you've fallen and you need somebody to get you out of that pit or that ditch. You have help when you are in need of warmth. You have help when you are attacked. And so there's this idea of we're in this together. I've got you. You don't have to worry about a thing. I've got your back. And when you have that in the marriage relationship, you have a real strong sense of companionship. Now, additionally to that, the passage also talks about this idea of a cord of 3 strands not being quickly broken. And that cord of 3 strands is not an uncommon thing to be heard of in that day. Everyone back then knew that a rope that was made out of a single or a double strand rope would break easily. But a 3-corded rope would not easily be broken at all. And that 3rd cord is intended to represent God. In Christian marriage, and we will talk about this in a later video sometime, having God at the center of your marriage is critical to being able to sustain and have a healthy Christian marriage. Now, moving forward, I think it's important that one of the things that we understand is that doing marriage God's way will always work out better than doing it our own way. My way can be very selfish. I'm really good at thinking about the things that I want, and I think you probably are too. And so eventually that'll take us down a road that won't be healthy for our relationships. Doing it God's way, we know that He's going to have the best interest for both parties involved, and He's going to challenge all of us to raise the bar on that marriage relationship, which might look a little different than what we had intended, even just on our own. So doing it his way is always going to be better. He wants us to be lifelong companions. He wants strong relationships. And one of the ways to accomplish that is through meaningful date nights. I did some research and I was trying to find, is there any study that's been done to talk about the impact of date nights on marriages? And as a matter of fact, the National Marriage Project out of the University of Virginia released a report that talks about these very things. It proposed that date nights are an important way for couples to spend much needed time by themselves. And not only that, it highlighted 5 key areas of impact within these dating relationships, or at least what these dating relationships did for the marriage. The first thing would be this, that a date night was an opportunity to communicate. Look, you know as well as I do that when you get home from work, and especially if you have kids, it's hard to get conversations had. And so what date nights do is it creates a focused time for you to be able to deepen your understanding of each other and of the relationship. So it helps you communicate. Secondly, date nights are valuable because of their novelty. And by that, what I mean is that the report actually says that couples who engage in novel activities that are fun, active, and otherwise engaging, from hiking to dancing to traveling to card games, enjoy higher levels of relationship quality. So in other words, the more variety that you have in that novelty of the dating relationship, the higher level of satisfaction you're going to have in your marriage relationship. That's a pretty cool thing. Number 3, date nights rekindle romance. The report says that date nights may strengthen or rekindle a romantic spark that can be helpful in sustaining the fires of love in the long haul. Look, here's what it really does. A date night says that you are valuable enough to me to carve out this time and spend time with. I want to know you. I want to know more about you. I want to spend my time with you. I want to laugh with you. I want to talk with you. All of those things. And when you build into the relationship in that way, the romantic side of that relationship and the emotional intimacy increases. Number 4, date nights may strengthen a couple's sense of commitment to one another. The report says that partners who put others first, or the other person first, who steer clear of other romantic opportunities, and who cultivate a strong sense of we-ness or togetherness are markedly happier and less committed couples. So here's what that's saying. It, very simply put, the more committed you feel to each other, the more committed you are to each other, the higher levels of satisfaction you're going to have in the relationship. I don't think that's rocket science for a lot of people, but this is one of the things the report highlighted. Number 5, date nights are a way to relieve stress. They really are. You're able to say, just like turn your brain off to everything else and just focus on the person that you're with. They allow a couple to enjoy time with one another apart from the pressing concerns of everyday life. And that's really important, and it matters. Now, interestingly enough, on that point, one of the assignments I often give couples who I do some marriage coaching with is this idea of going out and having a date night. And I always give them this assignment and say, you're not allowed to talk about work, you're not allowed to talk about kids, you're not allowed to talk about the bills, you're not allowed to talk about money. And so then they sit there and they're like, well, what do we talk about? Well, you talk about each other. And you talk about your dreams and your aspirations. You talk about, where you want to be in 5 years. You talk about what you appreciate about each other. All those things, and you just slowly just keep building into each other. Now, I also, again, because I meet with quite a number of couples, I get a lot of excuses about dating. And as a matter of fact, just excuses not to date. One of the key ones I get is that often for a lot of couples, they say, we just can't afford to go on date nights. Okay, let me dispel that right now. A date night does not have to be an expensive adventure. A date night could be something as simple as this concentrated time together where you're going out for a walk and you're connecting. That's what a date night is. A date night is about a time of connecting. It's concentrated. Other things aren't getting in the way, and it doesn't have to be expensive. So I don't care if you go for a walk. I don't care if you're just sitting on the couch watching Netflix, but you're communicating with each other. Something is taking place that's causing you to connect with each other in a way that you don't normally. And so you put an effort into that. So it doesn't have to be a big budget, but it has to be a real connection. Secondly, I get a lot of people talking about the idea that, when they're done with work and they're done with kids, they are just exhausted. I get it. Look, we've had our kids and they're older now, and so I do still remember when it was difficult to have the energy to pour into each other. But if I can encourage you with this, do it anyway. Look, you're always going to find ways and reasons to be tired about something, but you will never regret spending the time with your spouse That's quality time where you're building into each other and you feel valued by each other. And so if you can lean in that direction somehow, make an effort towards it in whatever way you can, it will change things for you. And thirdly, I find a lot of couples just don't know what to do. So on that note, I'll let you know that I'll put some notes in the descriptions below, some links for you so that you can find places to be able to help you with ideas on the kinds of things you can do on date night. But honestly, a lot of couples just don't know what to do. One of the assignments I often give couples, if it's the male first, I'll say, okay, I want you to plan a date for your wife. Don't get to tell her about it. You don't get to ask her what she likes, but you got to plan a date that's specifically designed for her enjoyment. And then I ask her to do the same thing the following week or 2 weeks or month, whatever it be, they get to decide. But they're focused on that. Now, often when we think about what to do on a date night, we're just like, okay, what we'd like to do? What would we like to do? What have we done? And we go through this list and we end up drawing a blank on things, right? And so we go to our old defaults. We go to a movie, we go to a meal, those kinds of things. I'll put some links in the description below to help you with some other ideas to get some of the energy going and some of the ideas flowing for you. But I promise you that there's a lot of different things you can be doing. You just haven't tried yet. Now, those are excuses, and there are ways to overcome those things. But I do think that it's important that we do learn how to date well. And again, I'll put some links in the description below to help you figure some of that stuff out. There are a lot of things to consider when we talk about enjoying spending our time together. And in those things, in order to get the most out of our shared experiences, I'm going to offer you 3 things that I recommend for you to really build into it. The first thing would be this: regularity. It needs to be a regular time together. It can't just be, once every 3 months and it's good. Look, when I have couples come in to see me and they're struggling in their marriages and I ask them a simple question like, when was your last date night? They don't even remember. And if you can't remember the last time that you had an opportunity to connect with each other in a meaningful way where you were intentional about it, it paints a pretty interesting picture in terms of what's going on in the relationship. It's a clue as to the disconnection that's in there. You need regularity. It's important. There needs to be consistency. And so it can't just be once every 3 months or that kind of thing. You need regularity. So I'd highly recommend that. Number 2, you need variety. Look, the same old thing over and over and over again can become mundane and boring. It may have been exciting at one point, but if it becomes the pattern of what you do, well, then it's not exciting anymore. So you need newness. You need to spice up your couple time with a wide range of different kinds of things that you could do together. And then lastly, and it might seem like an obvious thing, but it really isn't actually for a lot of people in terms of what's natural. It's got to be fun. Look, if it's not fun, you're not likely going to continue to do it. So it's got to be a lot of fun. And as a matter of fact, the whole idea behind it is that when you can laugh with each other, you have greater levels of satisfaction in that evening, and you're more likely to be able to connect with each other on an emotional level. And when you have emotional connectivity, you have a greater birth of relational connectivity. So that's a fantastic thing. So whatever you do during your date nights, do it with the idea of we're going to go out and we're going to have some fun together. Maybe we're going to be silly. Maybe we're going to, figure out ways that we're just going to go and laugh together. Whatever it is, you need to be enjoying each other. And why? Well, because dating your spouse increases their sense of value and it strengthens the foundation of your marriage relationship. It really is, in fact, I believe anyway, the activity of companionship. Not specifically the idea of the date night, but the idea of we're going to have concentrated time together where we're devoted to this thing and we're going to build into this thing. And when you do that, if you get this, if you apply this, you will have a more connected relationship. You're going to have more fun in your relationship, and the physical intimacy in your relationship will also increase. And these are important things. Date night, it just doesn't have to be extravagant. It doesn't. It doesn't have to be extravagant to make a positive and significant impact on your marriage relationship. So don't let handling the urgent things in life prevent you from handling the vital things in your relationship. You need to be connected to each other. It's the best thing for you. It's the best thing for your kids. It's the best thing for your grandkids. And so if you can move in the direction of being more connected to each other and allowing date nights to be that way to hack that part of your marriage, I think you're going to find a lot of satisfaction in your marriage relationship. And I got to tell you, it is so worth the investment. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I'm glad you were able to join me today on this particular talk. And if this is something that was a benefit to you, then why not share it with somebody? Also, if you want to find more videos like this, then just go ahead and subscribe. Click that bell icon so that you can get notifications whenever we got a new video uploaded. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for checking out the channel. And remember, whatever has your attention has your direction.